three, my lord. Oh, okay. Number three.
Hey, howdy, hey, fairy tale creatures. Guess that's the way to call the fandom. Wolfman47 here. So, Shrek. I like Shrek 1, I like Shrek 2, thought Shrek 3 was alright, thought Shrek 4 was a little bit better than Shrek 3, but again, just alright. Enjoyed the first Puss in Boots film and really enjoyed Puss in Boots The Last Wish, the second Puss in Boots film. There's also the various holiday specials and the TV shows as well. So yeah, which may or may not be canon. That's up to you to decide. Personally, I feel that if it's got the same animation and the same cast, then it is canon. But if it doesn't, then I consider it not canon. But that's just me. Anyway, so one of the things that is talked about in the Shrek fandom is what happened to the characters in Rumpel Stilskin's reality. So if you remember from Shrek 4, if you've ever seen it, Shrek gets fed up of life, being a family man and being loved and all that, and wants to return to being the ogre that he once was. You know, hated, not reviled by a lot of people, and all that other stuff. So in doing that, he ends up finding Rumpelstiltskin, who offers him a deal to take one day of his life and allow him to be the ogre that he once was. And the day that Rumpelstiltskin takes is the day he was born, which results in a lot of different things happening. In particular, Rumpelstiltskin taking over far away, and pretty much the fates of all the heroic and good characters being changed, especially with their memories of Shrek being erased and they don't know Shrek. And yeah. So with that, there is the question of what happened to Shrek's other villains that we don't hear or be talked about in Shrek 4. So I'm gonna talk about the villains and share my take on what happened to each of them in Rumpelstiltskin's reality. And I'm also going to include the Puss in Boots villains as well, because they, although Shrek didn't impact their lives in any shape or form, Puss in Boots did, and Puss in Boots, as we know, became a domesticated fat cat in Fiona's rebellion against Rumpelstiltskin. So yeah. So with that, let's get to it. So I'm going to start with the Shrek films first, and then we'll go through the Puss in Boots villains. So first is Lord Farquaad. Lord Farquaad, as we know, is a character that is the ruler of Julak, but is not exactly a king. And in order to become a king in the Shrek universe, he has to marry a princess. So as you remember, he was given 3 choices: so Cinderella, Snow White, and Fiona. He picks Fiona, and pretty much, and I'm gonna assume that because Shrek wasn't the one that won the contest, pretty much various knights tried to win, some were defeated and so forth, and ultimately a few knights were then given the chance to go rescue Fiona. But because Fiona was able to escape without the need of Shrek in the end, it's safe to assume that maybe, and because the dragon was also moved as well to Rumpelstiltskin, it's probably safe to assume that the knights arrived there realizing that she's not there, and ultimately Lord Farquaad gives up on Fiona and decides to go for Cinderella or Snow White instead. So that's probably what would happen for Lord Farquaad. He would simply just move on to another princess and turn a blind eye on the whole thing with Fiona. So that's him. Then there is the Fairy Godmother, the main antagonist from Shrek 2. Now, most villain of the Shrek villains do have a personal grudge against Shrek, and the Fairy Godmother isn't really a sort of evil villain per se. She's more of a businesswoman who wants nothing more than for her son, Prince Charming, to rule a kingdom with a queen by his side. However, because of the deal the Fairy Godmother had with King Harold and Lydiath, that's a sort of contract deal they had ultimately becomes non-existent when they're erased from Rumpelstiltskin's reality. So as such, I would have to say that a fairy godmother would take Prince Charming and her business elsewhere to another kingdom where they find where Charming eventually does marry a princess and becomes the kingdom of whatever kingdom that may be. So yeah, there's opportunities for both Lord Farquaad and the Fairy Godmother and Prince Charming. Obviously, Prince Charming's motivation to become king in the third film is what happened in the second film, so we don't need to go into detail about that. But it's probably safe to assume that the villains we see in the third film do eventually fulfill their dreams, or still end up just going to that same bar, but albeit be a little bit different or something. So yeah. So that's really the Shrek villains. So now let's talk about the villains from the Puss in Boots films. So first off, there's Humpty Alexander Dumpty, who is the best friend of Puss in Boots. And I guess with Puss in Boots not being around, he would have probably had problems finding the golden eggs and the goose that lays the golden eggs, probably resorting into using Jack and Jill. So I guess in a way he would have still found a way to succeed in his plans, but it would have been caused great difficulty, and he probably would have ended up the same way. So ultimately, I think Humpty Dumpty's as a villain would have not worked out in his favour. He's probably the only one of this list of villains I'm going through that's ultimately not going to succeed without Puss in Boots being around because of where Puss in Boots is. Leading us into the Last Wish villains. So in Last Wish, all the characters are trying to find the wishing star to make a wish. Big Jack Horner wants all magic to himself. Goldilocks and the Three Bears Goldilocks wants a family, but realizes that her family is with the Three Bears. And Soft Paws wants her own wish, and the dog also wants his own wish. And I'm guessing with Puss in Boots not around, the dog would have never gone with them. Pedro, I think his name is, as I recall. Soft Paws would have still gone back. Big Jack Horner would have still gone, and Goldilocks and the Three Bears would have still gone to the Wishing Star. But it's probably a good chance that ultimately Big Jack Horner would have won in the end. Although maybe not, because the Goldilocks and the Three Bears did play a big part in his defeat. But again, there is the matter of where's Puss in Boots. So yeah, that's basically my take on what would happen if the villains from the other Shrek films and the Puss in Boots films did appear in Rumpel Stilskin's reality. Of course, there's also many other villains that we've not yet seen in the Shrek universe, many from the fairy tales and so forth, and yeah, it's also something to bear in mind that DreamWorks have sometimes been known to forget that they've already established a character in their films, because Rumpelstiltskin actually did appear in Shrek 3 as among the many villains that were in the bar, but albeit a cameo. So that's probably why they forgot that he was already in there and decided to make him a different character in the fourth film. But yeah, that's how I feel it should have gone. So Lord Farquaad getting another princess, Fairy Godmother and Prince Charming getting another princess. Humpty Dumpty trying his hardest to get to the goose, but ultimately coming to fail in that respect. And Big Jack Horner and Goldilocks and the Three Bears probably at war with one another, with only one succeeding in the end, with the other being in defeat. So yeah, in other words, the Last Wish would have probably been played out the same way, but just without Puss in Boots being around. There's also death as well, but with Puss in Boots being a domesticated cat, he probably would have just given in to death almost instantly because of the odds that were against him, that and him being part of Fiona's Ogre Rebellion. And that's what I think would have happened to the villains in Rumpelstiltskin's reality. As with all my topical vlogs, draw your own conclusions. I love to know what you think should have happened and all this other stuff. And who knows, maybe we will get more villains and then sort of decide what were the fates of them in Rumpelstiltskin's reality. Because even though Shrek 4 is not one of the strongest of the Shrek films in like the overall franchise, it does well in making us think about what happened to characters in Rumpelstiltskin's reality. So in some way it did succeed in giving us something to talk about there, even though the film is, in my opinion, not the best film that you can make. So yeah, so that is all I've got to say on that. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please like, share, comment and subscribe. See you in the next one. Peace to you all. And if you are a fairy tale creature, try your best to get out of Lord Farquaad's reign, because I'm pretty sure he would have still caused terror to the fairy tale creatures despite, yeah, doing what he did. So yeah. And I don't think there's any other lessons other than make sure whatever you wish for, make sure it's a good wish and you don't feel greedy and all that, because you only get one chance to wish for something if you do go to the wishing star and yada yada yada. So yeah. Alright. Doodles.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kind of dumb.